In today's video, we're sharing 3 terrifying high school real-life encounters, stories of students who never quite made it back to normal after their experiences, the chilling moments that haunt the classrooms, lockers, and staircases of Hillcrest High. So turn off the lights, sit back, and get ready to hear about the horrors that lie beneath the surface of an ordinary school. You won't look at your own school the same way again.
This is going to sound crazy, but I swear it happened. I was staying late at school, finishing up a group project. It was after dark, and the place was nearly deserted. The only sounds were the creaking of the floorboards beneath my feet and the distant hum of the cafeteria's refrigerator. I was walking up the stairs to the second floor when I saw her. At first, I thought I'd imagined it. A girl standing halfway up the staircase, her long, wet hair hanging in front of her face. She was dressed in a school uniform, but it looked wrong. Torn, dirty, like she'd been dragged through something. I froze, my blood running cold. My mind told me to turn around, to run, but my body wouldn't move. "Help me." Her voice was barely a whisper, and I couldn't tell if it was real or just in my head. But then she looked up. Her face. It wasn't her face anymore. Her eyes were hollow, dark pits that seemed to pull the light from the room. Her mouth opened, stretching wide, wider than humanly possible. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. And then, in a flash, she was gone. I backed down the stairs, my legs shaking, my vision blurring. I couldn't understand what I'd just seen, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going back up there again. Later, I found out from some of the older students that a girl had died on those stairs years ago. She'd fallen, they said, but the way they talked about it, how she never left, that's when I realized the truth. The girl on the stairs? She wasn't going to let anyone forget her. And now, every time I take those stairs, I feel her eyes on me, watching, waiting. I don't go near the second floor anymore, ever. So yeah, that's the terrifying reality of Hillcrest High. There's more, so much more hidden in the walls, in the old lockers, in the classrooms that are never used. I don't think I'll ever understand what happened, or if I even want to, but if you're ever in the area, and you hear whispers when no one's around, or you catch a glimpse of something in the corner of your eye, don't look back, just keep walking. Trust me.
Have you ever felt like someone's watching you? Like the weight of their eyes is pressing into the back of your skull, no matter where you go? That was how I felt in Mrs. Halloran's classroom. I'd always sit at the same desk in the corner, furthest from the window, because the sunlight made my head hurt. But this particular day, I noticed something that made my stomach twist. The room was nearly empty, just a few kids finishing up their work. Mrs. Halloran was in the front, her back turned as she worked on the board. I'd heard stories about her, how she'd been there for decades, how some people said she was cursed, that her classes were haunted, but I'd never believed in that sort of thing, until now. I don't know why I glanced up. Maybe it was instinct, or maybe the air felt wrong. But I saw it then, the reflection in the window, a figure sitting in the desk right in front of mine, someone I didn't recognize, someone who wasn't there. They wore a black hoodie, the hood pulled low over their face, hiding everything except a hint of pale skin. I blinked, trying to focus. The figure didn't move. Their hands were clenched around the edge of the desk. I turned around quickly, my heart pounding in my ears, but there was no one there. I was alone in the classroom. I thought maybe I was losing it, maybe the stress was getting to me, but the feeling didn't go away. That night, when I was at home, trying to shake off the unease, I remembered something Mrs. Halloran had said that day, right before class started. Some desks have a history, a dark history. Be careful where you sit. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The desk I sat in, and the figure in the window. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see that empty, pale face staring back at me. A few days later, I had to go back. I was assigned a new seat, far from my old one. But as I walked into the classroom, I saw it. There was someone sitting in my desk. And I swear to God, I could hear whispering, right in my ear, "You shouldn't have left."
It was my first year at Hillcrest High, and I hated it already. The school was huge, old, creaky floors, dimly lit hallways, and an eerie vibe that never seemed to leave the air. But it wasn't the size or the coldness of the place that bothered me most. It was her. Let me start from the beginning. I'd been assigned locker number 777, down in the oldest hallway, where the lights flickered like the place had been abandoned for years. No one ever really went down that way, and the few students who had seen my locker always made a face, as though they were trying to keep something from me. It felt like I was being led into a trap every time I opened it. One morning, I arrived early, hoping to get some peace before the chaos of the day started. I was alone in the hall. The only sound was my shoes echoing against the cracked tiles. As I neared my locker, I noticed something strange. The door was already ajar, the lock hanging loosely from the edge. I could have sworn I'd locked it the night before, but I thought maybe I was just being paranoid. I reached out and pulled it open, and that's when I saw it. There at the very bottom was a note. No name, no writing except one word. Help. I felt a chill run through me, but I shrugged it off. Maybe someone had left it by mistake, or it was some weird prank. But the note looked too old, faded, as if it had been there for years. I reached down to grab it, my fingers brushing the paper, and I heard a soft, almost imperceptible voice from behind me. Don't touch it. I froze. My heart slammed against my rib cage. There was no one there. I whipped around. Empty hallway. The lockers, the lights. Everything felt suffocating. I reached out for the note anyway, my hand trembling. But as soon as my fingers brushed it again, the locker door slammed shut with a deafening bang. I stumbled back, my heart racing, my mind screaming for me to run, but I couldn't move. A shadow flickered near the lockers at the end of the hallway. A tall figure, a girl with dark hair. She stood there, just staring at me. I didn't know what to do. I tried to call out, but my voice caught in my throat. Then the figure turned and vanished into the darkness. I ran out of there, not even bothering to grab my things. That day, I never went near locker 777 again. And every time I pass that hallway now, I can feel her eyes on me like she's waiting for me to come back. Like I've forgotten something. Something important.